Jump right in, shall we? Today, we're unpacking a really fascinating story about a guy named Ryan. Now, on the surface, sure, it's a story about a janitor. But look a little deeper, and it's actually an absolute masterclass in the mechanics of daily discipline and, well, invisible progress. We're going to break down exactly how these tiny, completely unseen efforts compound over time into some truly extraordinary, life-changing results. So if you've ever felt stuck in a rut or kind of like your hard work is just flying under the radar, this explainer is going to completely change how you view your everyday routine.
Picture this. It is exactly 11:47 p.m. The bustling office workers, long gone. The elevators are totally silent, and hundreds of glowing computer screens have finally gone dark. Now, this is the moment when Ryan, the building's janitor, finished up his shift. He'd cleaned the floors, emptied the trash, wiped the windows, the whole shebang. But this is also the exact moment when Ryan started his real work. A kind of work that literally nobody else in that building could see.
So you're probably wondering, what exactly was his real work? What's a guy doing all alone in a dark, empty office building in the middle of the night? Well, hidden away inside his backpack was a cheap, totally ordinary notebook. And inside that notebook, a secret plan. It was a plan so intensely ambitious that if he'd actually told anyone about it, they probably would have laughed right in his face. Some would have doubted him, others would have just told him, hey, be realistic. So Ryan kept it a secret. He stayed completely silent, and he just worked.
Section 1. The Executive Floor Epiphany. From Survival to Observation. Now, for Ryan, taking a janitorial job was really just meant to be a temporary fix to help out his struggling family. But, temporary situations can become pretty dangerous when people stop growing.
Most nights, cleaning those 23 floors felt like an endless blur, right? But the executive floor, that fascinated him. Now, what's really interesting about this slide is how we all tend to buy into this illusion that super successful people are basically superheroes, that they're perfect, magical beings. But cleaning their offices night after night, Ryan realized the actual reality. They weren't magical at all. Actually, they were just ordinary people who were relentlessly prepared. And that epiphany, it flipped a switch deep inside him. He realized success doesn't belong to some different breed of human. It just belongs to the prepared.
Moving to Section 2, the power of invisible progress. Treating self-improvement like a second job.
So right after that realization, Ryan went out and bought that cheap notebook. Just paper, nothing special. But man, it became a magical talisman for him. As you can see here, the sheer intensity of this routine was wild. Every single night after his shift ended, he'd sit down and study. Leadership, communication, business, psychology, productivity, discipline. He literally treated his own self-improvement like an intense, demanding second job. Nobody knew he was doing this. There were no pats on the back. But with every single page of that notebook, he was quietly making himself stronger. But here's the catch, and you can see this stark contrast on the screen. The absolute hardest thing about personal growth is that it usually feels completely invisible. For months, Ryan's external reality didn't budge. Same job, same low income, same grueling routine. But look at the other side. His internal reality was shifting seismically. He was becoming way more confident, super disciplined, focused, intentional. This transformation was happening so quietly that even he questioned it sometimes. But that's the thing. Growth happens deep beneath the surface, long before it ever changes your external circumstances.
Section 3. Surviving the Hard Year. The Abyss. You see, progress is rarely a straight line. And when a serious family medical crisis hit, life suddenly got incredibly dark and difficult for Ryan.
Exhaustion basically became his baseline. The financial pressure, the mounting medical bills, the stress, the fear, it all just came rushing back. He really started to wonder if all this studying and self-improvement was just completely pointless. And one particularly brutal night, feeling utterly defeated, he sat alone in this empty conference room, totally ready to throw in the towel. He was going to abandon his goals completely. But then, he looked up and saw this quote displayed on the wall. "Success belongs to those who continue when continuing is difficult." He just stared at those words in that dark, empty room for a few minutes. He let it really sink in. And then, quietly, he stood up, picked his notebook back up, and he kept going.
Which brings us to Section 4, when preparation meets opportunity, the illusion of luck. Because years of this invisible, silent preparation were finally about to collide with a real-world opportunity.
Let's move to the timeline and see exactly how this builds. One evening, while cleaning a meeting room, Ryan spotted a massive scheduling mistake that was absolutely going to derail an important project. Now, most people would have just ignored it, right? Not his job, not his problem. But Ryan didn't. He flagged it for management. Boom. Day one, the issue gets resolved, and the executives actually take notice. Weeks later, because he was finally on the radar, they started picking up on his communication skills, his professionalism, how he solved problems. You know, all that stuff he'd been studying in his notebook. Months later, a manager gets curious, which leads to some mentoring and networking. And years later, an internal administrative role opens up. Ryan applies, and he gets the job. It was a massive promotion, all cascading from that one single moment of preparation meeting opportunity.
Now, when he first applied for that administrative role, a lot of folks were pretty surprised. Some definitely doubted him. I mean, to them, he was just the janitor, right? But here's the kicker. He wasn't competing against their expectations. He wasn't even trying to prove them wrong. He was competing against the person he used to be. And he won that battle because he proved beyond a shadow of a doubt that your daily decisions and your unseen habits, they dictate your destiny way more than your current circumstances ever could.
Section 5, the return, passing the torch.
So that new role, it was just the start. Years passed, more promotions rolled in, his income skyrocketed, and his whole life completely transformed. And several years later, Ryan, who was now a highly successful professional, actually visited the exact same office building where this whole crazy journey started. Walking down the hallway, he spots a young, exhausted janitor pushing a cleaning cart, and the kid has the exact same lost, tired expression Ryan used to wear. So before leaving, Ryan walks right up to him, pulls out a brand new, empty notebook, and hands it to him with one piece of parting advice. Write down where you're going. Otherwise, life will decide for you. And with that, he turned and walked away.
Section 6, the final lesson, the mechanics of discipline. Listen, it is so incredibly easy to just brush off a cheap notebook, but I want you to understand exactly the mechanics of why Ryan's secret plan actually worked.
As this breakdown brilliantly illustrates, success is almost never one big, lucky movie-style moment. Nope. It's thousands of small moments. It's thousands of deliberate choices, thousands of unseen actions, and most crucially, all of that repeated consistently, day after day, month after month, year after year. Ryan didn't change his life by winning the lottery or getting a lucky break. The secret plan wasn't magic. It was simply discipline and preparation applied consistently over time.
Look, maybe your current situation isn't exactly where you want to be right now. Maybe you feel like you're stuck on the metaphorical night shift. And maybe your progress feels agonizingly slow, like literally nobody is noticing the effort you're putting in. And you know what? That is completely okay. You just have to keep going. Because the most important transformations always happen deep underground, long before anyone else can see the results. You've got to trust the process of invisible transformation. Your current chapter is absolutely not your final chapter. So I'll leave you with this final provocative thought to ponder today.
What is your secret plan? Seriously, what are you studying in those quiet hours when nobody else is watching? If you are ready to really take ownership of your future and commit to that invisible progress, I want you to go down to the comments right now and type, "I am not done yet." Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer. Remember, keep learning, keep growing, and start writing down exactly where you are going.